Hello everyone. I've been having some problems with my brakes, it seems like, and possibly with a wheel bearing. I recently got the car inspected and the mechanic was nice enough to pass the inspection, but he told me I needed to look at the brakes, that my front brake pads are almost gone. And when I'm driving it, I get a lot of grinding sounds, and this front hub, even the rim, gets hot to the touch. So I've got to pull off the wheel and take a look at things and see what it looks like. I already purchased new brake pads to put in it, but I might also have a caliper that's not releasing. So I'm going to dig into it and see what I find. If you're interested in seeing how I jack and support the Subaru Outback, I'll be posting a video about that after my brakes are fixed on all four wheels. Please visit my channel to check that out. Wow, the surface of that rotor seems just fine. I'm just going to sand the outer edge, maybe that inner edge, but the surface itself does not have much wear. It seems to be in good condition. There's not even a lot of rust. I'll have to see how the inside looks. So this outer surface of the rotor actually seems really clean and smooth. There's no gouges in it. Seems really good. This outer edge has a slight bit of wear in. Not bad. I think I'm just going to hit that with a sander or like a flap disc and clear that edge off. Same thing here on the middle. Just a little bit. But overall in really good condition, it seems like. And from what I can feel right here with my pinky, the backside may be the same way. Now, I was told that the brake pads were worn down. I see it on the bottom, yeah, it is actually worn down pretty far. All right, so I've got to pop these calipers off so I can get the pads out and have a closer look at things. So to pull these calipers off, there's actually only 2 bolts holding them on the back, on the brackets. One here. One down here. And they take a 17mm wrench. You see how clean those threads look? I always put never sees on them when I'm reassembling. This rotor, caliper, and pads have been on here for 2 years. So I was surprised to find out that my pads were so worn. Looks like I'm going to have to bleed the pressure out of this caliper a bit. It's really squeezed tight on there. It must be frozen. seems to be frozen. So in an effort not to leak too much brake fluid all over the place, I like to stick a rubber tube on the bleeder and have it set up to drip in a pan. Then I can loosen it up, let some fluid out. And yes, these are always going to work because I always put never sees on them. I have a vice grip on here on this tube just to weight it down so it hangs inside the catch pan. If I had a large enough C-clamp to try to compress these calipers, I would, but I don't, so I'm going to try this. Yep, that works just fine. You can see I have lots of gap in there now. I should be able to pull that rotor off of the, I should be able to pull that caliper off of there now. So now that I have enough play in that, I'm going to close this bleeder back up. I don't need to keep draining brake fluid at the moment. I think the pads themselves are what's tight in the caliper, possibly not the pistons. That would be good news. You don't want all the weight of that caliper hanging on the hose. It's not made for that. I'm just using a piece of coat hanger wire here to support it. You can see that the hose is not holding the weight up. And something else we can see here is that inside pad is very worn. So yes, it needs to be replaced. Okay guys, I put the wheel back on. I put the rotor back on in the wheel and tightened down 3 lug nuts. That's enough because I want to check this bearing. And so the first thing you do is you grab both sides of the wheel and see if you can feel any chuck at all in anything. And then you grab the top and the bottom and force it back and forth this way. I don't really feel anything. If the bearing was bad, you'd probably feel a little bit of free play. There's no free play in that at all. Okay, now I took it out of park and put it in neutral. I don't hear or feel any type of grinding or rough surface sounds in there. Seems like a pretty smooth bearing, so think I'm out of the woods on that. The problem up here is all brakes. Sorry about the bad camera angle and my blocking your view here. You'll get a good view on the other side when I get over there. Well, it seems to me like these slide pins on this caliper are very stiff, and that might be why I have excessive wear on the inside there. So I'm going to disassemble this. This is the mounting bracket. I'm going to disassemble the bracket from the caliper piston assembly. Now, just in case you couldn't see any of that, this is the mounting bracket that has those bolts that I removed from here. And there's a couple slide pins, one on each end here, top and bottom. And they're bolted to that's how the mounting bracket is bolted to the piston assembly. Right here. So that's what I'm taking apart right now. And I'm resting the caliper there on top of the lower control arm. For a moment, take this out. I'm going to have to really look at this. Actually, this one. That one feels fine. Oh, so does that one. I just popped it out. They're clean and they're full of grease, so no problem. All right, not sure why I couldn't make it slide while I had it on there, but it's not a problem. So I'm going to move on to these brake pads. Which are actually held inside this mounting bracket by spring clips. And it seems like, wow, they are really tight in there. So that could be the problem. That could be, that is the problem. Holy moly. And I don't know if you can see the uneven wear there. This side is worn pretty evenly. But look at that. Down here it's about 1/4 inch to 3/8 of an inch thick. Up here it's about 1/8 of an inch thick. You see the taper in that pad? So another thing I can check is how well do these pistons retract. When I open the bleeder, they should be free to move now. It does push right back in. It's not hanging up at all. There was really no resistance to the C-clamp. Let's try the upper piston. That one wasn't bad at all either. It actually gave a little more resistance than the bottom one. It's nice to see how rust-free they are. They came with this coating on them, and it's holding up really well. That's been 2 years of upstate Western New York road salt, and there's barely any sign of rust. They're doing really good. All right, let me tighten this bleeder up again. Make sure that rubber tube stays on it so any drips go into the pan. It is still dripping down there in the pan. Let's see if the camera will see those pistons pop out when I step on the brake pedal. Well, it looks like the upper piston popped out a little bit, but not the lower. I'm going to go pump it again. Okay, that was 2 pumps of the pedal. It looks like the upper piston popped out more than the bottom, which just means it's freer to move. So let me try holding that one in and popping the bottom one out a little more. I just want to work these in and out a bit to see if they're freed up enough to use it. I think they actually are. Okay, we got our eyes on that bottom piston now. Go push that pedal to the floor one more time. I put a green line on the screen to indicate the starting position of the piston, a yellow line to indicate where it stops, and a red line to show where it retracts to. Well, we could definitely see the bottom piston coming out that time. That popped out pretty far. Open the bleeder, compress the piston. That bottom piston came out pretty far. I think that's farther out than it ever was, so this might be some good exercise for it. It went in pretty smooth when it got toward the bottom. I think I'm going to work that bottom one in and out a few times. Just maybe take turns working them. Starting with the bottom, I'll clamp the top. I'm going to clamp the top, pump the bottom piston like 3 or 4 pumps, and then compress it back in. I'm going to do all that off camera. So this mounting bracket has these inserts on them. They're a stamped sheet metal insert. So I'm just going to remove these. Just pry them off of there. You don't have to worry about trying to save them, because when I bought the new brake pads, they came with these new sheet metal shims. And these go in here like this. But one thing I'm wondering is that maybe the last ones I had in there fit a little too tightly, and that might be why the brake shoes were hanging up over time. And part of that is because these brackets are powder coated. That's what that coating is. And it's possible, I think, that the powder coating in there added too much thickness to the surfaces. So these springs actually were too tight in the slot. There's a slot here all the way across, goes across both sides. And that maybe that slot being too tight is what caused these springs to be a little tight in the slot, and then thus they were a little tight around that tab on the brake shoe. The brake shoe backing goes in these slots. So I'm going to take a file and clean off that powder coating inside these slots, because I think that's what caused the problem actually. I really like these powder coated parts, but I think in this tight slot where there's not a lot of clearance for the parts to fit, I think it caused a problem. So I'm going to remove it in there, and I'm just going to replace it by brushing on some Never-Seez to help prevent rust in there. So I don't know how well the camera can see it, but I've got those notches pretty much free of the powder coating. All you see there mainly is shiny bare metal in those slots. So it's pretty good. All right. So these are called pad abutment shims. I think I need to clean off these surfaces as well that the pads hit. So I'll go do that now. Putting just a little bit of anti-seize on these points that I had filed down. And this isn't for anti-seize purposes really. It's really just for anti-rust. I just don't want these things to start rusting heavily. And as much as I just put on there, I'm going to be wiping off a lot of it. Doesn't need a thick coat, just needs a little. looks pretty good. I think I will also dab some of this on here. That side wasn't too bad as far as excess. This side got laid on a little thick. Okay, that looks good. Before I can install the caliper, I need to clean off the brake rotor. So I'll be doing that next. So this video ended up being over an hour long. So I split it up into 4 separate videos. This was part 1. In part 2, I'll finish repairing the front brakes. A third video will show how I cleaned up both of the front brake rotors. They turned out really good. And a fourth video will show you how I jack up and support a Subaru Outback to work under it. If you would, please consider hitting the thumbs up button and subscribing to the channel. And thank you for watching.